Some men do not feel lost because life is unclear. They feel lost because they keep waiting to be rescued. You see it in the dark apartment before sunrise. Work clothes on the chair, phone face up on the counter. Coffee going cold while the same prayer stays unanswered. And one day the thing that changes him is not a sign. It is the silence that finally leaves him nowhere to hide. Every morning looked almost the same. He woke up before the alarm, not because he was rested, because his body had learned stress better than sleep. The apartment was small, one bedroom, thin walls, a sink with 2 plates still inside, shoes by the door, a weak kitchen light that made everything feel colder than it was. He stood there most mornings with one hand on the counter, coffee in the other, looking at nothing. Outside, the city was still quiet. A few headlights moved below his window. Someone starting a truck. Someone already late. Someone already needed somewhere else. He would whisper the same thing under his breath. God, just show me where to go. Not a miracle. Not a big break. Just something clear enough to follow. Because lately, his life felt like a hallway with no doors. Same commute. Same office. Same parking lot. Same tired version of himself walking back in every night. Nothing was collapsing. That was the strange part. It was all still standing, but something inside him had stopped moving. He kept telling himself he was in a season, a quiet one, a confusing one, maybe even a necessary one. That sounded better than the truth. The truth was that he had become passive in a very disciplined way. He went to work on time, paid rent on time, answered texts late but politely, did what was expected, kept his head down. From the outside, he looked stable. Inside, he was drifting. He thought prayer would clear the fog. He thought if he waited long enough, the right feeling would arrive. The right opportunity. The right conviction. The right sense that now was finally the moment. So he delayed small things. The gym after work. The resume update. The call back to his brother. The doctor appointment. The Saturday morning he said he would use to clean the apartment and reset. He delayed all of it with a spiritual tone, as if hesitation sounded more noble when wrapped in faith. He was not lazy in the obvious way. He was functional. He was respectable. He was tired in a clean shirt, and that made it harder to admit. His life was not being blocked. It was being slowly surrendered. The shift did not start in church. It did not start during some emotional breakdown. It started on a Tuesday evening in the office parking lot. He had stayed late again. Not because the work mattered that much, mostly because going home too early made the silence feel louder. The lot was half empty. A shopping cart leaned into a curb. The air was cold enough to make everything sharper. He sat in the driver's seat, but did not start the engine. Hands on the wheel. Tie loosened. Phone glowing in the dark. He opened a message from a friend he had not seen in months. Nothing dramatic, just a casual check-in. How you been, man? He stared at it longer than he should have, because he did not know how to answer that question honestly. Fine was a lie. Bad felt too dramatic. Busy was the easiest one, but even that was starting to sound fake. He put the phone down and looked through the windshield, at the lines in the pavement, at his own reflection sitting over them like a ghost. Then he said it again. God, just give me something. And for the first time, that prayer sounded different to him. Not sincere. Not desperate. Avoidant. He heard it the way someone hears their own voice on a recording. Strange. Exposed. Hard to deny. He was asking for direction while ignoring the things already in front of him. Sleep earlier. Wake up cleaner. Move his body. Stop wasting Sunday. Stop calling numbness waiting. Stop treating his life like a draft. The answer he wanted was bigger than the work he was avoiding. That was the trigger. Not pain. Embarrassment. He drove home without music. No podcast. No scrolling at red lights. No attempt to soften the ride. The apartment felt the same when he walked in. still quiet, still a little stale, still carrying the weight of too many unfinished nights. But something in him had stopped negotiating. He sat at the edge of the bed and looked around. Laundry on the chair, water bottles on the floor, laptop still open from the night before, a room arranged around delay. That was when the thought landed. Maybe silence was not the absence of guidance. Maybe silence was what remained after every excuse had spoken. He had treated discipline like a punishment, like something harsh men force on themselves when life goes wrong. But now it looked different, cleaner, almost merciful. Because discipline did not require a sign. It did not require certainty. It did not ask him to feel inspired first. It only asked him to stop abandoning himself in small ways. That thought did not make him emotional. It made him still. And for the first time in a long time, stillness did not feel empty. It felt honest. Nothing dramatic happened after that. He did not wake up transformed. The next morning was still early, still dim, still cold at the kitchen counter. But he made the bed. That was all. Then he washed the dishes before work. He parked farther away and walked a little faster. He left the office on time once. Then twice. He stood in the gym without motivation and lifted anyway. It was almost insulting how small it looked. No revelation. No applause. No sudden peace. Just repetition. But repetition started doing something his prayers had not done lately. It gave him proof. Proof that he could act before feeling ready. Proof that movement creates clarity faster than rumination. Proof that self-respect does not usually arrive as a feeling first. It arrives as behavior. There were still bad nights. Nights when the apartment felt too quiet. When takeout containers stacked up. When he stared at the ceiling and thought this is pointless. But now the spiral looked different. Before he would sink and call it a phase. Now he could see the moment he was choosing collapse. That visibility changed everything. Because once a man sees the pattern clearly, he cannot fully disappear inside it again. He started trusting boring things. An earlier alarm, a cleaner sink, a harder workout, a walk before sunrise, a phone left untouched for 1 hour. The city did not change around him. He changed the way he stood inside it. And that made the same life feel less like a cage. One morning weeks later, he stood at the window before work. Same apartment. Same street. Same pale light over the buildings. Nothing holy happened there. No voice. No sign in the sky. No final answer. But he noticed something simple. He no longer needed the morning to promise him anything. That was new. He had spent so long begging life to become clearer before he moved. Now he was moving, and because of that, life felt clearer. The silence had not failed him. It had stripped the fantasy away. And standing there with coffee in his hand, he understood it. He had not been waiting on God. He had been waiting on permission. After that, his life still looked ordinary. He still went to work, still sat in traffic, still carried stress in his shoulders, still had moments where the old heaviness came back. But the relationship had changed. He did not speak to himself the same way anymore. Less pity, less performance, less hidden bargaining. He stopped romanticizing the version of himself who was almost ready. That man had wasted enough time. What replaced him was not impressive, just consistent. He folded clothes before they became piles. Answered messages when he could instead of disappearing for days. Saved money with less drama. Read for 20 minutes at night. Went outside on weekends instead of dissolving in the apartment. He became easier to trust. Not to the world first, to himself. And that mattered more than motivation ever had. Because motivation had made promises. Discipline made contact. It returned him to his own life in small, plain ways. A cleaner room. A stronger back. A steadier morning. A little less chaos in his head. Some men think self-respect comes after achievement, after the promotion, after the relationship, after the breakthrough. Sometimes it comes much earlier than that. Sometimes it begins the first time a man keeps one small promise nobody else can see. He still prayed, but the prayer changed. Not show me what to do, more like help me stay awake inside the life I already have. That was enough, because the answer he wanted had never really been missing. He knew where the first step was. He just did not want it to be so ordinary. But most real change is ordinary. It happens in quiet kitchens, in dark parking lots, in lonely mornings, in the hour after work when nobody is watching. A man can waste years waiting for a sign that makes movement feel safe, or he can accept something harder and cleaner. That clarity often comes after discipline, not before. And sometimes silence is not empty at all. Sometimes it is where a man finally hears the part of himself that is done making excuses. And that is where his self-respect begins.